You know, funnily enough, I was going to have that loop for a little bit, but it turns out that this one started the pre-stream. I was like, okay, we're gonna pre-stream until 3:05, and the timing was nearly perfect. So, yeah, that's Rachel coughing in the background. This is going to be a little bit of a, and this is going to be a little bit of a different stream format because this is just so off of the cuff. I'm doing this pretty much as soon as possible. Hey, hey, thank you for showing up, Jasper. Don't worry, this one has its mug of water. It might make some tea the further we get in here. Yeah, Rachel, I mean, the cat can't control if she coughs. She's doing her best. But yeah, I usually don't stream without a co host, so bear with me. Alright. There's not really a lot of like preamble to do to this. So for people who haven't been keeping up or just are watching this VOD in the future, this one is making this after the announcement that Collective Unconsciousness is going to be removed from the Yume Nikki Online project. It's heard varying reports. It's heard that it's being removed on December 22nd. It's heard it's being removed on the 27th. And allegedly, it's going to continue to be hosted elsewhere. Um, but that's not a certain thing yet. And since there's no reason, since there's no way to download and run Collective Unconsciousness of any version of it locally, it's decided to do at least a archival stream of what we know is going to be removed going forward, because there is some stuff that this one is rather fond of, some locations, some effects, and it doesn't know if anybody's going to be documenting this. So it wants to do so. Again, this one cannot give you information on why this is happening, how this is happening. It can't really give you any opinions on what's going on because it doesn't have enough. It doesn't have enough information to ensure that it's not spreading misinformation. So what it's giving you is the facts. What it's giving you is the facts. It's going to try to keep its opinion as out of this as possible. And it did offer to take some people around in Yume Nikki Online, but it doesn't really want to be. It's going to be playing in private mode because it just doesn't want to talk to randoms about this. It doesn't want to think about randoms. It doesn't want to see other people in the community right now because it's shy. This is a very emotional thing for it. It's kind of got itself under control now, and it's just finishing up this sandwich because it's like, oh god, I need to eat. Like Jasper said, it needs to drink water. Those of you watching at home, remember to take care of yourselves. I'm going to begin setting up. This is going to be a slightly janky stream. I'm going to be running all of this in a web browser and having to pull up stuff like Wikipedia, like wiki articles for like how to navigate to places. So I'm not too sure about how that's going to interact with OBS. So let's see. Let's give it a shot, as it were. So I'm going to open everything up and get it running now. Okay, that's Discord. That's not OBS. It apologizes if it sometimes goes quiet or doesn't respond to chat very much. It only has a single monitor. It's doing its best. But part of the archival is hopefully being able to archive the music and sound design of these worlds as well. So there will be points where it will kind of just hush. Because, again, it doesn't know if anybody else is really doing this for Collective Unconscious, and it doesn't want to check because that requires interacting with people. Thank you all for indulging it on this. I can't imagine that this stream is going to be very interesting. Is going to be very interesting to others. Or maybe it will. Alright, let's get that game capture set up as best we can. Oh, wait, no, it can't be game map. It can't be game. It's gonna have to be window capture. window capture. Haven't heard that name in years. Is there, like, audio output? How does it... It hasn't... Oh, there it is. Okay, maybe browser source is the way to go for here. Good puppy. It'll don't worry. Don't worry. It's going to tell you exactly who to eat. Whoa. Might have to adjust the audio a little bit. Yeah, definitely going to have to adjust the audio a little bit. Bear with it. We'll try that for now. Alright. No, I don't think browser source is going to actually work with this. Hold on. Go for a bit, but you shall return. Thank you for popping by, Jasper. This one can also handle banning, it thinks, but it always appreciates your help. Yeah, we're just gonna do window capture. All right, we're getting somewhere. And let's see what happens if we full screen it. Excellent. You could not have asked for it to work out better. We're going to turn on private mode for now, unless people really want to hop on. Going to adjust the audio a little bit more for this one's comfort. Yeah. Don't worry about it too much. It just means a lot to this one. Is its voice coming through okay? It wants to make sure that the audio levels are balanced. It really wants you to be able to hear both itself and the game. Let's make this just a little bit bigger. Oh wait, no, that gets into the chat box. Its voice works rather well, thank you. How about the game audio? Unless the game suddenly gets way louder, this is good. That's excellent to hear. So, it's also, unfortunately, got a spreadsheet here, and you can see this on the Collective Unconsciousness Discord. They have a link to it. It's got a spreadsheet of what's being removed that it's going to use to kind of direct us to, well, what it wants to see before it no longer has the chance to. Some of these are places it's been in the game, some of them are not. And it's going to avoid talking about specific developers and the circumstances around this. It just wants to, restate that. We'll discuss the save theme menu in a second. We'll get back to that. But regardless of what's happening, this is a very beautiful game. It's very good, and that's why it's getting so weird about it. It doesn't think it needs to explain to anybody what a Yume Nikki fan game, or Yumaloidvanias, as they've come to be called in its streaming community, is. If you're here, you probably know about it, but the gist of it is, it's an exploration-based game made in RPG Maker, specifically 2003 for this game. And Collective Unconsciousness is, as the name would imply, a group effort to make a Yume Nikki game specifically for use with YNO, Yume Nikki Online, which allows you to play these games in multiplayer and explore them together. So it's got, it was made with a bunch of functionality in mind, like emotes and just facilitating play through Yume Nikki Online. A really cool concept, and on its own, a very good Yume Nikki game, even outside of that context. And sadly, from the spreadsheet that it's looking at right now, they aren't axing Yume Nikki. Oh my god. Learn to pay attention. Have you never played Yume Nikki? It's free. They're moving collective unconsciousness to a different place. This one, yeah, and they're removing a bunch of stuff, and that's mostly what it wants to document. Well, maybe you should play Yume Nikki. There is a way for it to run on your iPad or whatever you have. It's Yume Nikki. But back to the kind of the matter at hand. There's going to be pretty big changes to the Nexus and main menu, for instance. At least if it's reading this spreadsheet right. Take any information it gives you with a little bit of a grain of salt. So already the cut content is beginning. The people leaving the project over whatever's happened, because it's unclear to this one still. Everything that's happened, you know, they were pretty integral to the whole, like, to the whole project, essentially. So there's going to be some pretty big changes going forward if we can't get this version of the game archived. And normally, you know, when this sort of thing happens, you know, this has happened with Yume Tuki a few times, if this one isn't mistaken. You're playing every 5v5 hero shooter, starting with Overwatch. And this is your first time seeing gameplay? God, you need to look at things. You need to stop scrolling short-form content, Uni. Can't decide if it wants its ears in the in the chat or not. So the reason that everything happening with this game is such an ordeal and is such a big deal to this one is there's no way to archive this version of the game unless they release it. This area may also be getting removed or redesigned as far as it knows. Which sucks, because this is... The music in here is great. The vibes are immaculate. But there's nothing we can really do about it. This is going to be gone in a few days. And that's a little bit hard to swallow, frankly. It's an incredible vibe. It is a vibe unmatched. The beat is amazing. The music and visual design for this game is absolutely beautiful. And then there's a quieter version that plays on the balcony. It's starting to really learn this about itself. It has a very strong, like, deep-seated reaction to the way that loud music is affected by the acoustics of a space and being just on the periphery of that space. It was raised around, like, a lot of raves, a lot of festivals, you know, for good or ill. And it's very used to music specifically sounding like this, specifically where it's trying to sleep. It's easier to sleep to noises like this than you might think. This one has slept, like, it remembers one time it slept like 30 feet away from a soundstage. And they would just go all night. It doesn't know how it got any sleep. Well, it knows how it got any sleep. It was being used for child labor at the time, and it was just exhausted. But you know what it's getting at. It's feeling a lot more upbeat than it thought it would, honestly, but it is also a little hard to not get emotional. It's never really used this part of the Nexus very much. This one hopes that they archive everything. As far as it knows, negotiations are open right now about archiving this part of the this like fork of the game with no content removed, but it will also receive no updates. So what it seems like is going to happen is Collective Unconsciousness is going to go forward and new updates will have the content removed. And they're trying to get an archival copy, you know, approved of to keep all of the old content in, but that won't receive any further updates. So it's essentially going to be forked in two by this. It sucks, but it has to assume that everybody has their reasons, even if this one doesn't agree with it. I think that I'm about ready to move on. But yeah, funny thing is, if it weren't in private mode, there's probably a lot of people in here, you know? It doesn't really want to like capture any like chats or just who's on it. You know, if it's streaming, it doesn't want to like, I don't know, you know? It can be uncomfortable to just be watched suddenly, even if it's by 5 more people than you thought, as opposed to 500. But yeah, if you like any of the places that it shows in this stream, hop onto Collective Unconsciousness if you can. Its ultimate goal is to inspire people to check this game out in the limited time that it still remains available. So now we're going to start actively navigating things. I'm going to start with the easiest thing to get to. So this, regrettably, is going to be a lost world in versions of Collective Unconsciousness going forward. Matter of fact, it should, got to get itself all done up. I mean, it has to be a maid. It is pretty. And this one doesn't fully understand the reason for why people are leaving the project or why they feel the need to have their content removed. It's going to try not to be opinionated about this on stream, but it does have opinions on the nature of contributions to a project like this. And just... you can't just take things away from others when you've made them. That doesn't give you sole creative control. I mean, it kind of does, but it doesn't give you control over access to it. This one personally believes that once you've made something, it should remain accessible to people, because you don't know how much it means to others. And it thinks that the people who are withdrawing their content from this game, they might have good reasons to not want to be associated with it anymore, but at the same time, there comes a point where you have to recognize that it's not truly yours anymore, where, you know, we have concepts like the Creative Commons like this for a reason. Because art is supposed to reach out and be important to people. If you make art, and make no mistake that these worlds and contributions to Collective Unconsciousness and other projects like Yumetuki are art, you kind of have a responsibility, in this one's estimation, to keep it accessible to others as long as possible. You know, there's just no way to archive this game in a playable state unless you happen to be one of the developers, and so it's left up to them to continue and propagate this game, which isn't awesome. Like, your access to something that might mean a lot to you, to something that might... something that might have, like, an emotional resonance, or even just be a coping mechanism for you. It is... like, ultimately that shouldn't just be in the hands of the few. That, like, you should be able to archive and back up things. You should be able to do that with any media, this one believes. And it's really disconcerting that there's no way to do a local download of Collective Unconsciousness. It doesn't make a lot of sense. To its knowledge, no other Yume Nikki fan game has done this. And there has been a history of some Yume Nikki games disappearing, and those are all controversial. And in those cases, this one firmly believes that, like, you made something and people like it, and you kind of have a responsibility to your fellow entities to keep it accessible. There is so much garbage on the internet that this one has put out that it's embarrassed by, but it kept it up there. Even if it's just dumb fan fiction, it doesn't want to go back and seek that out and remove it, because, like, what if somebody liked that? What if somebody liked its unfinished Fallout New Vegas fanfiction? Even if that doesn't reflect the person that it is now, or it was just poorly written, this one was 14 at the time. It's out of this one's hands. It made art, and by its own morality, you know, maybe this is a bad example, because this is all the art that this one has put out isn't very good. But you kind of get what it's seeing at. You kind of see what it's getting at. The art it made when it was small wasn't very good. Let's pull up the master list again. See if there's somewhere we can start navigating. And as it's looking through this list, and it is publicly accessible if you want to take a look yourself, big shout outs to everybody who is allowing their content to stay, even if they aren't going to be working with collective unconsciousness in the future. But out of everybody that it sees here, you know, it has to assume they all had good reasons. At least on the air it does. Now, it kind of wants to go... let's just go in order for a little bit. Maybe do a few cheats. You know, jump around in the list to show you some of its real favorites that are getting removed, as well as some locations that aren't getting removed. Let's take a look at how do we get to autumnal equinox? Oh. Okay, oh, that's quite a ways down there. Alright. Okay, well, this will at least take it through some of the areas that are also getting cut, so this is very convenient. Okay, give it a autumnal equinox, come on. And then, can we, open it in a new window, thank you. Alright, so now it can pull up the information that it needs, while leaving things undisturbed. Okay, so how do we get here? I'm gonna start from Pale Park. And thank you to everybody who is indulging this one, frankly. Oh, that just wakes you up. Strange. Maybe I pressed the wrong button, but oh well. Excuse me. Oh. There's a lot that's going to be lost, regardless of if this gets, you know, if this gets allowed onto, you know, if this is allowed to be archived, if this is rehosted somewhere. There's a lot that's going to be lost, sadly. It'll get into the badges thing in a second. Because it does suck that, like, you know, it should probably explain if it's going to bring it up. So, Yume Nikki Online has, like, an achievement functionality where you can unlock little avatars. And people have made an insane amount of art for this feature. And all of this art is really good. Look at all this. This is just stuff that it's unlocked, but, like, the little gifts that people have made in such small confines, a lot of these are going to be lost. And that makes it pretty sad. Let's just give me the unlocks. Wow, I do not have that many. And that's kind of the beauty of these collective projects like this. that you really only see out of the Yume Nikki community. You've got so many people giving their own interpretations of the same events and characters and world and contributing to it. It really is something beautiful. And that's why the best it can do is to archive it. In a form that's probably only going to be useful to it. Thank you, Ko-Fi Bot. It isn't fair. And we can state it until we're blue in the face, but yeah, it isn't fair. They should just figure it out. Like, if you want its unfiltered opinion, it doesn't really care what's happened. Figure it out. If you want its true selfish nature to be exposed. It wants Yume Nikki online and everything that it hosts to be on the internet forever. They always used to tell us that when you put something on the internet, it never goes away, and in a lot of ways that's true, but also frustratingly not. Okay, it's a little lost. Yeah, it might even... Oh, wait, nope, there it is. In some ways that's true, but that's true, but in others it's not. And it is really frustrating when something like this vanishes. I mean, this is the exact kind of thing that we're trying to fight against just in video games in general, with all of these games and projects that are online only, and once the server goes down, it's gone. The fact that there is no local download for this game is insane. If the Yume Nikki online service had to shut down for whatever reason, Collective Unconsciousness may well be lost. All the other games, to its knowledge, have local downloads, so even if we lost the functionality of being able to play it with friends, this one would still be able to play Yume Tuki and .flow, and come on, let's fire off some other ones. Deep Dreams, An Illusion, Muma Rope. There's so many games that are oh, god damn it. It accidentally pressed 9 on its it pressed 9 on its numpad. It's gesticulating too much. Okay. Locking in, we're gonna make some progress. Or not. The journey is part of these games. But, like, all of those games would be maintained and playable, except for Collective Unconsciousness, which is a shame, because this one's played a fair bit of Eumaloidvanias in its time. And the fact is, Collective Unconsciousness might be top 3. Maybe top 5, because there's some heavy hitters. There's the original Yume Nikki. There's .flow. There's Answered Prayers. There's, like, the little we've seen of Brain Girl, and oh gosh, that game is awesome already. There's Yume Tuki, which might be the largest video game ever made. Just so I know where we're going, we're going to want to head to Overgrown Railway. Oh god, this is just like navigating a real train station. Alright, we might need money. We might need money, but this one can get that. Or it may have already paid for the ticket before, so it's not quite sure. Yeah, it's already paid for the ticket. Which means nobody has to die. Or not. Maybe just went in the wrong way. We got 20 moons. Okay, well, turns out it needs to buy another ticket. So we do get to see the Soulfire Eidolon. This is, according to the list, another piece of content that's getting removed from the game. Why can't I kill you? Strange. Huh. Is it not pressing the right button? Mina, kill! Every pony. You know what? It doesn't remember the shadow people being invulnerable. Did they remove the functionality? No, they wouldn't. This one is surely just misremembering. So we need money to go further. Thankfully, money is pretty easy to come by. And, if it can editorialize a little bit, it really sucks that Soulfire is getting removed. This is one of the most creative implementations of essentially the knife effect from Yume Nikki, which the only purpose of it is to kill and collect the game's currency, but this is the most creative implementation of the concept so far. It's an amazing design, turning Minatsuki into, like, some kind of weird, like wooden idol, reflective of the totem pole that she interacts with to enter the dream world at all. It's just a neat design and a neat idea for it, and this kind of attitude of, like, heading to a grind spot, because this one is the kind of sick pervert that has a grind spot in Yume Nikki games. Is this the one? Yes, it is. So we're just gonna kill these until we have $100, which might take a while. But this kind of mentality that a lot of people have with projects like this, and proverbially, like, taking their toys and going home, it's not sure what to feel about that. The drop rates can be kind of low for money, so we might be here for a while. But it's just as well, because this is also, like, a great area that it wanted to show off. It doesn't know if this will be getting cut. Alright. Oh, well, that's $100. We'll return there. Or, you know what? This isn't a job. We can go around Rooftub if we want. It's a neat little spot. Oh, it never picked that up, actually. Huh. Another message for the pilot, guesses. Stuffs before 5. What? Let's rush ourselves back to the matter at hand. Tight. Now we can get on the train and pass through. Cool. Oh. Oh, there was a way to skip past the ticket gate. Oh well. Now we may need to wait here until we fall asleep on the train. Like so. I don't know how... Oh, yep, there we go. The vibes are amazing. Again, that's why it's going to be quiet. That's why it's going to let a lot of animations loop and a lot of music loop. Because it wants to be able to preserve as much as it can. Specifically in the state that it's meant to be experienced in. Pizza! Incredibly pleasant. The entire... Hell yeah. It actually doesn't think it's... It might be misremembering. It might not have gone this way before. But, like... Ugh. Let's just take a seat here. Oh, yeah, there isn't a full movement set for the maid outfit, sadly. But, like... It's the digitized backgrounds. It's the excellent use of music. It's the transitory nature of it all. You don't get much better. You really do not get much better than a well-made Yume Nikki fan game. You know, you see a lot of highways like that. Like, I don't know, like on the West Coast, and it just kind of reminds this one of being young and just always on the road, you know? And that's kind of like what the Yume Nikki fan game genre holds for it, is so much of it feels reminiscent to its own experience, and perhaps that's the beauty of it, in that, like, it reflects so many other people's interpretations and experiences that you're almost inevitably going to find something that really cuts to your core. There's a piece of content that isn't planned to be cut, but we're going to finish the stream off with visiting it. Because it's this one's just favorite place in the whole game, maybe in a Yume Nikki game in general. And we're going to end off on that once we're done exploring all this stuff it wants to archive. Don't really know how long this stream is going to go. But, we do our best, you know? Is there a map? There's the map. I'm going to have to raw dog it. This one still uses so many colloquialisms. It's not... Wait, Expedition 33 was disqualified from the Game Awards? For real? What? Why? But also, that's hilarious. Didn't they win, like, 75% of the awards? This is great. It uses generative... No way. No shot. No shot. You're kidding. You're yanking its chain. It did not use Gen AI. Oh, no. That's incredibly disappointing. That's incredibly... Because, like, that was the thing this one gave that game. That was the thing this one gave that game, was it had incredibly inventive visual design and felt like kind of like in a way, kind of a tribute to France's association with fine art, specifically painting. Like, I looked at that game, and it saw a lot of influence from Impressionism and Pointillism, and it was so excited to see a Pointillism shout out in a big RPG, because that's one of its favorite forms of painting. Have you ever seen that painting of all the people down by the river? And they're all by the river, and it's all done in Pointillism. And Pointillism, if you don't know, is a painting technique where you just You know, everything you see is comprised of 1,000 tiny dots meticulously applied. You know, it felt like a love letter visually to stuff like that from what it had seen of the game. To what extent did it use Gen AI? Is this fake news? Yeah, you saw it in a loop. That isn't even your fault. That isn't even your fault. Your parents should have taken you to art galleries. Somebody in your life should have taken you to art galleries. If you're ever responsible for a child, take it to a museum. Can you provide a source for where you're hearing this? You broke into an art gallery once, Pog. Oh, man, I see. It doesn't want to be happy about this because Rachel likes that game. It wants to like that game at the end of the day. Insider gaming. Okay, we're gonna take a short aside. I guess we're looking at this now. Just gonna skim this. Also, this is not an indie game. Like, Expedition 33 is not an indie game. Get out of here. So they've confirmed its use. This is incredibly depressing. This doesn't really tell us a lot, but this is incredibly depressing. What is this source? Insider Gaming? It doesn't know it's a trustworthy source anymore, honestly. Games journalism is in such a state. This one will believe it when it hears it from a YouTuber. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. That's big sucks if true. Come on, light up. Do you light up? Are you the lighting up one? Or do you just look like that? Or it might just be dark down here. Alright. Let's take a tiny look around before moving on to Wisteria Grove. It's not an indie game. See, we used to have words for this. Oh, yeah, all of the Eidolon designs, this one will show them off a little bit more. All of the Eidolon designs in this game are peak. Regardless of how it feels about how the content is being handled, the character design is excellent. The environmental design is excellent. Look at this thing. Now, referring to the list, as disheartening as this is to do... Oh, man. Yeah, Jellyfish World is going to be removed. So once again, you're looking at potentially lost media. Sorry. Sorry to show you the coolest stuff and simultaneously be like, yeah, we might never see this again. In light of that, let's try to visit a few more points of interest and chill out. It doesn't know if the jellyfish effect itself is going to be removed. It doesn't look like it, but it could be wrong. Yeah, as of the current state of the master list, the jellyfish effect itself is not going to be removed, but this area where you get it is, so it's going to have to be rehoused somewhere. Which is a damn shame. You don't get more jellyfish than this. The jelly per fish is... well, it's considerable. It's worth the investment. Everyone likes jellies. This one has an ulterior motive for liking jellyfish, but like, Wawa. Let's see. Yeah, just go straight down. It should find the spot where you actually find this effect, because it thinks that has some unique sprite work. So from the benches... yeah, it's almost there. Watch the burrito things for me. I'm just gonna investigate the expedition thing more. God, it's ended up on Reddit. This isn't good. This is not good. Can we stop calling it an indie, though? Like, we had a term for this, you know? We have a term for this, actually. It's called the AA game. It's not an independent production. It just is... it doesn't look like one. That is not an indie game. An indie game was made by, like, 15 people tops. Which Claire Obscure was not. Regardless of the AI allegations, that is what we call a AA game, which puts it in a pretty vaunted, like, lineage of really good games. Sorry that you have to share billing with Devil May Cry and Demon Souls, but too bad, you're an incredibly influential and beloved AA game. Get over yourself. Anyway, we're at Wisteria Grove, finally. Not going to talk about Expedition 33 very much more if it can get away with it. Oh, wait. Ah, but that's also another place that's going to be getting cut. Oh, we have to go there anyways. Do we? Because it's pretty sure we cut through Hollowed Pools. Nope, we gotta go through Wisteria Manor. Well, we could take a look at the Hollowed Pools. Quadruple AI. God. So from what little it could glean by, like, looking around, apparently generative AI was used to make placeholder assets, which is insane. Why would you do that? It's a placeholder asset. Why would you compromise the artistic integrity of your project by involving AI at any, like, point in the process? Even to make placeholder assets, which, if they're placeholder assets, just put down a default Unreal Engine 5 humanoid and call it a day. How good did they need to look? Just use a goddamn rectangle. Thank you, Ko-Fi Sister. How long has this one been at it? Already an hour. Oh, the time flies. The time really flies with this game for this one. Which means it's gotta stop messing around and get to some heat. The archival. We'll take a little bit more of a walk. Kirby was a placeholder asset, but just turned out to be incredibly charming, and, you know. Scribblenauts won, though. That's kind of impressive. Because that's before the adjective system. Hi, Sable. Sorry if I'm going to be a little bit quiet this stream, but as it's been stating probably a million times by now, a lot of this is just to hopefully have more archival footage of this version of the game out in the world. But thank you for stopping by. Yeah, it already backed up its save files. Trust it. I may have gotten a little lost. The Noita is never friendly. Cannibal Noita.
Eating people is important in Noita.
Eating people is always important. Even a doll needs sustenance after all. It's hard not to get like a little emotional and upset, you know? Knowing that this might be the last time that you get to be in a place like this, and there's more things in its life that are important to it, that are coping mechanisms, that are entirely dependent on infrastructure entirely outside of its control. And this is just in terms of things that are important to it emotionally. There's more things than that it would like to admit, you know? It kind of has to wrestle with, like, well, what does happen if collective unconsciousness ends as a project and is taken down? what happens when Final Fantasy XIV inevitably stops making money and it can't go to Eorzea anymore? It The internet gives us a lot, but at the same time, it's hard to have like a source of permanence, it supposes. And this kind of compounds with like being autistic and you don't like when things change. This one hasn't locked on to Final Fantasy XIV since the new update because like stuff will be changed. The story continues. Like the raids it was doing every week for fun are going to be different raids. There's going to be different stuff in rotation for a lot of people. And on the one hand, that's awesome because, yeah, of course it wants the game it loves to progress and, like, have continual support, but at the same time, even more of the same thing that it likes is change. It's very strange, and it wonders if other people feel like this. And then you get to situations like this where Wisteria Grove is just gone. No matter what happens from this point, this is going to be an obsolete area in the game. That's just hard to swallow. Of course we won't lose you. Yeah, moving houses, it's a very similar feeling, isn't it? That kind of understanding of like, and this feels really overdramatic to be saying about a game, but like, these virtual spaces do start to become a sort of like home, For this one in particular, the kind of like gameplay loop, for lack of a better term, of Yume Nikki, of just going around these spaces and existing in them, but not necessarily having to do anything, not usually having the like RPG, like, the usual RPG fare of having goals and like doing things, just kind of like navigating a environment is a meditative experience for it. It's a calming and grounding experience, and it's hard to be an adult about this, thinking about, going through this specific place, hearing this specific song, just sitting in this room for an hour while it has a panic attack, because it has them pretty frequently, for the past like half a year, ever since it's gotten really into YNO, and even further than that, before the Yume Nikki Online project, and when it was a teenager, it would play stuff like Yume Tuki and .flow and find places within it that would just calm it down a little bit. And I never really had to wrestle with the idea of like that going away. And you find comfort where you can, especially when you live a meager life like this one does. Maybe not as meager as it used to be, but still meager nonetheless. And these things become important to you. And it becomes hard to understand why they have to this. And it becomes hard to understand why they necessarily have to go away. And it's very sorry, it's crying. It didn't really want to inflict that on anyone else. And again, it feels stupid to cry over something like this, you know? To have such an emotional investment in something that didn't really belong to you in the first place. But at the same time, you just kind of get used to things. You just kind of, you get complacent, used to it's always going to be there. It applies to people, to places, to things you didn't even really know that you cared about that much, you know? There's so many things about the house that it lived in before this one, for instance, that it was so used to and took for granted at the time. It misses going on walks, and you know, it misses how where it lives right now looked 6-8 years ago, when the construction wasn't all done and there were just empty lots, and those are vanishing. Time waits for no doll, it supposes, but you know, 26 years of continuous operation, it still hasn't quite figured out how to be at peace with that. It's very sorry. It's embarrassing itself. It'll continue on. Sorry. Just didn't want to talk over everything too much, you know? And maybe the whole thing isn't so bad, you know? If this is the last time it visits, you know, this part of the game, or this game at all, it's not so bad if it's with friends, right? Our community around the streaming is fairly small. You know, it feels pretty safe to consider at least everybody in attendance right now. It's friend, you know, it's Maxi, it's Uni. It doesn't always see eye to eye with you. Sometimes you really upset it. Sometimes it really upsets you. Its nose gets clogged very easily when it cries. Whoa. Oh god, the nightmare dimension. Get me the fuck out of here. Not ready for the nightmare dimension yet. And as relaxing as this game is, you know, that's kind of the unavoidable part of it, is sometimes, you know, dreams do have nightmares in them. They really capture that part well. It's good to check our navigation to make sure we're still on the right track. Oh. Yeah, we might have to go through the nightmare dimension. It's not ready to leave the manor area yet. It's not that bad, Rachel. I'm fine.
So anyway.
This one's just being over dramatic in the end.
Oh no, it's being emotional in its emotions. Zone.
Hello, nightmare dimension. It's not even a nightmare, it's entirely ambivalent. It's just very strongly colored. At the end of the day, it just kind of doesn't understand why. Like, it can understand not continuing to work with the project. But why not archive these worlds that you've made in some way, you know? You think with how aware we are of things like lost media, of things like live service games, of media preservation, you think this wouldn't be an attitude that a lot of people hold, because we've already gone through this cycle of, you know, stuff being buried, stuff being removed from storefronts, stuff being removed from the internet, and that sucks universally. People tend to like that stuff, you know? People like what you make. Maybe it just can't understand. Maybe it's not enough of an artist to understand. But under any circumstances, can you really make something like this and say you never want someone to see it again? It's kind of the inverse of, like... I was playing games with Young Miss the other day. And, not the other day, this was like months ago. We were playing, it was showing her a game from its childhood. Tony Hawk's Underground, real ones would remember. And, it got it thinking about how funny it is to play like a PS2 game, and you open up the save file in the game or in the PS2's excellent external interface, which is also kind of lost to time, sadly. And seeing the dates was always surreal, because it was like, it's 2025, you know? When you're making like a kind of, in retrospect, kind of shovelware-y skateboarding game that's such a product of the 2000s and its edginess and its influences from Jackass and MTV in general, do you think the developers of that game ever really anticipated, like, that date being shown in the save in the save function? Like, how long did they think people would be playing this game? Because video games are such a new medium that its point is really stray. Its point is really straying, but, like, video games are such a new medium that we don't know what it looks like for a work to have longevity yet. There is no video game that has lasted as long as the pointillism painting that it can't remember. There's no video game that has lasted as long as The Great Gatsby, has lasted as long as Hamlet. We don't know what it's going to look like for these pieces of art to be not just preserved, but reflected upon in the future. But it likes to think that we're getting somewhat of an inkling that these are things worth preserving. And it just seems almost aggressively short-sighted. Oh god, there's gonna be some navigation puzzles. Letters are the path to runway crossing. Numbers are other warps. Okay, so we're gonna focus on the path to runway crossing. Places like this can be kind of hard to navigate for this one. Uh-huh. Okay, so it's... Alright, so one of the two is going to be the way forward. And we just have to check both routes. We have a little fun here in the Eviloidvanias. But it doesn't seem to be this way. Supposed to go through the cart door. Okay, no. Alright. What idol do we have to use? Rodentia. We have to rat max. Or do we have to be in rat form? Rat time! God, it loves women. So the Tommy mats, that was going to remove. Let's see. Yep, runway crossing is getting removed. Pretty much this entire route is getting removed. That's really frustrating. it didn't intend to, like, take us through all the stuff that's going to get removed in one shot, but... And it loves you too, Uni. Rip Pretty Cute Girls. Rip this beat. If it may get a little indignant, why? You already made it. There's no sense of labor without reward anymore, for better or worse. You know, like, you can't just make something because you want to make it. It has to be attached to your name. It has to, like, it has to be completely within your control, which doesn't work with a project like this. If you make something for a Yume Nikki fan game, don't take it out. Accept that you don't necessarily have any ownership over it. Accept that art can exist without it being owned by anyone, including the one who made it. This one has made peace with that. This one wants to contribute to games like this one day. When it feels, you know, more confident in its art, when it feels like it has something it can really put together, it wants to submit. It wants to submit works for inclusion in something like this, or something like Yume Tuki, or Uneven Dream is another project it likes a little bit less, admittedly, but, you know, it wants to be part of something like that, if not make an entire Yume Nikki game. And even if it did make its own Yumaloid Mania, the nature of these games, the spirit in which the original Yume Nikki was made, is antithetical to the idea of artist ownership. We know nothing about Kikiyama. Kikiyama could be multiple people. In fact, this one is kind of a Kikiyama was multiple people all along truther. We have no idea who made one of the most influential games of our time. If you take, like, even if you take stuff like the Toby Fox Edge review at face value and don't think that Toby Fox just made it all up, all we really know is that they like omelets at things, which, like, omelets are really big in Japan by default. Like, you really have to accept that as the author, you will die. As the author, you're not important to the work in this context. At least that's what it feels. And it has to be that way, because otherwise things like this just kind of get lost, for better or worse. That's not as much as it's comfortable editorializing, really. Because in the end, it can only assume that everybody involved who is withdrawing their work is doing so for incredibly good reasons, for very good reasons. And whatever those reasons may be, they have to be good ones, because it's their reasons. They're the ones who made it, you know? It can have these ideals about the death of the author. It can have the ideas. Maybe we are above the clouds. It can't believe it. Maxine is here. Oh, wait, no, it unplugged its headphones by accident, so tell it if there's any problems. However, oh wait, no, that's the wrong one. It's Imago. Can't believe it hasn't put on the moth form once. It's such a fool sometimes. fool is a respectable and lavish position. Maybe. One thing that makes humanoid paintings really implant themselves and ingrain themselves in this one's mind has to be the inclusion and focus on natural spaces. God, we really have gone through most of the places that are going to be lost. This sucks. But the inclusion and focus on natural spaces, on forests, are a recurring theme that you see a lot of. And please do stick around to the end of the stream if you can, because it has a banger forest to show you that hopefully is going to remain. But as somebody who can't really get out in nature as much as they used to, as much as they want to, as much as they feel that they need to, these games are pretty good at evoking feelings, you know? Especially when this one is a little under the influence, it might get high, you know? Don't worry, it'll still be able to navigate, but yeah. You're properly back. Okay. That's excellent. The Indigo effect is cute. Nanoita versus Superman. The Noita can just conjure the kryptonite or something.
Why are we back to a Noida conversation?
Okay, so what if you were the Noida, but every time that you cast the spell, it simultaneously created a 12-inch tall... It created a 12-inch tall clone of Hitler. Okay, let's see. We've just gotta... Oh, wait, no. It's gonna have to open it in browser real quick. Sorry.
Oh, I banned them already.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Miss.
Oh, right. I should also allow Maxie telling it to kill itself.
Yay! Something about the graves is really getting to it, you know? It's an interesting inclusion. And it's a... Okay, we can at least get to Fascination World from here. I'm gonna ignore the Quagmire face they drew on the map down there. You really do lose this stuff, you know? Gosh, how do we even get there? It's gonna be... Okay. Alright. It's got a rough route planned. It's really hard not to be better about it, you know? Just a couple of weeks ago, last month to be generous, they released a big update to this game too. Like, they added so much, and it was all good because of course it's good, you know. And it just feels so senseless to just kind of like toss that all away. Maybe it'll eat crow, though. You know, maybe its fears are unfounded, and there is going to be another collective unconscious client that pops up, and we can continue playing like nothing happened. Its backed up save will work. Everything will be in its place. Maybe an agreement will be reached where this content does remain in the game. You know, maybe. But if it doesn't, this one's gonna be really glad that it did this stream and the other streams it might plan to do. It truly is what it is, you know? It isn't too late. This game is going to be up for a while longer. Sorry, somebody came to it and needed comfort. It's still going to be up for a while longer, and even if it's not forever, you know, it recommends getting on. It recommends playing it while you can. This one will guide you to where to find the offer still stands to teach you how to like find the moth effect, you know? Like, as much as this does feel like a farewell, there is still time. It isn't too late. Oh, Jesus.
Welcome to the hand dimension.
Well, for better or worse, we're also losing this. This is also the end of the route, it appears. And it's never actually been in here. This might have been added in the update. It is definitely worth discussing how all of this is created by... Most of this route, if not all of it, has been made by the same person. It's an incredible artistic achievement. There's been like a great range. It provokes emotions in you. This is an awesome design and concept for a world. The background image is freaking it the hell out, but like it's kind of supposed to, so hell yeah. It's hard not to be mad when they're like, yeah, just remove it all forever, get it gone. We went to Amori's wet dream. Hasn't played Amori in quite some time. It really is one of those games. It's kind of like Persona 3 in that, like, when this one played it, it didn't want to go back and do anything different. Like, the idea of doing a second playthrough felt awful and weird to it. Well, that's enough for Fascination World. How long have we been going? Already 2 hours. Like Gaster from Undertartle.
Undartle.
Well, let's take a short intermission out of the dream world and visit probably one of the best parts of this game, which is, believe it or not, the save interface. Just gonna let the music play for a little bit. Gonna turn it up, actually. getting jump scared by that chord progression, and like the neurons in the brain firing the first time that it sat down and listened to this theme. It just knew, you know, it knew that this game was going to be really special to it. Let's take a look through some of the book covers, if we don't mind, because this is another one of its favorite parts of the game. Is there is just so much art hidden in it from a variety of different artists, and as we're about to see, a variety of different mediums and takes on the characters. And this one's just going to kind of like slideshow through them. But already you've got pixel art of various different styles, depicting not only Minetsuki but objects, creatures, just places, and ultimately different perspectives on the shared game that they've made together. And let's take a look at some of the ones that it's found. This is like your primary reward for continuing to play the game in its current state, you know, is to find more of these covers, to find more of just what people have made. It, more than anything else, it feels like this and Umetuki, and just the Humaloidvania genre are celebrating the act of creation, be that in music, drawing, RPG Maker map design. It's awesome, frankly. I'm gonna linger on that one actually, because this is great. This is, again, this might be removed from future versions of the game. It doesn't know, like, what the fate, ultimately, of art made by others, but still depicting content that's going to be cut. This also is going to be cut from future parts of the game. God knows where you're going to be able to see this piece of art, you know? It has influenced this one. It's definitely influenced this one. You could definitely, like, you wouldn't even have to make the case. This game is the reason why it started drawing again. After being bullied out of the hobby as far back as middle school, this was the game that kind of broke its back and made it pick up the pencil again, no matter how childish the results might be or how bad it might be. And that's why it always ends up drawing Minetsuki. It doesn't know why that connection was made in its brain to finally make and draw again because of this game, but here we are. You know? This may also be lost, so yeah. It feels kind of smarmy to say that, but like, it's worth pointing out what we're losing. Because all of these are great. All of these kick ass. I wishes there was a way to set like a rotation of journal covers instead of just picking one. Because these are all so good. Such a wide variety of subject matter, wide variety of styles. It's so exciting to just be wandering around and see a little notification that you get that you've unlocked one of these new ones. The best feeling in the world, even. And Mina is just so goddamn cute. Minetsuki is... she's great. Nekona might be one of its favorite contributors. It just likes their art style and how it like relates itself to Mina. But all of this rules. We're gonna be here for a while. Because there's a lot. This one hasn't even unlocked all of it, and there's just a lot, and it deserves to be looked at. Thank you for looking at it. No matter what form this game takes after the split with Y&O and into the future, thank you for looking at it now and looking at the collective unconscious that this one begun with and is gonna remember. Preservation would be nice. Preservation will be nice if we can make it happen. This is posted a picture. Delightful. Oh wait, this is the one that it just has. Still, it's a good one. You've always bet on Yuri. Bet it all on Yuri. But just seeing all of the different, like, interpretations of the protagonist of this game, of even the same characters. Like, it's fun to see everybody's interpretations. And that's why, these group projects are just as important as the, like, singular developer-focused, finished Humaloidvanias, Mume Rope, Dot Flow, two excellent games off the top of its head. But you don't get that spirit of collaboration and interpretation of each other's works, of a central character of these areas. It's a unique feeling of community to see how everybody else sees this very interpretational character in Minatsuki. It's been using she/her for Minatsuki this whole time, but Minatsuki is kind of a character. This is going to feel really trite to explain that Minatsuki is kind of a character with no real assigned gender or traits outside of a vague 16-bit appearance. And they were made deliberately to be something that you could project onto, So it would be more accurate to say that, like, this one's Minatsuki is a girl. Other people may not have a girl Minatsuki, and that's great, frankly. However, she's usually drawn as a girl. And this one has opinions on, like, it notices a correlation between quality and gender of the protagonist when it comes to Humaloidvanias, but surely it's confusing causation and correlation. Having said that, it's usually a bad sign for this one. Their symbolism used to be an eye, and now it's a star. It doesn't really want to bring that opinion into this stream, but it will discuss it if it continues to play Yume-Nikki fan games, because it kind of does bear speaking about, but it wants to have its opinions and thoughts and kind of thesis assembled before it talks about that on a stream, but it does have this conviction that, Humaloidvanias are meant to have female protagonists. But again, it's gonna want, like, its note cards, going back to this one because it's adorable. She's so wet and pathetic. She doesn't want to be there. It's picture day. It sucks. This one is new. We unlocked this one while we were out there together. This one never had the opportunity to make flower crowns. Like, it never learned how, really, and it kind of felt bad picking flowers, but it's fairly flower crown pilled now because of Amori and because of how cute Basil is, and if you taught it how to make flower crowns, it would really appreciate that. Okay, maybe there are 2 spots we have to take you to tonight. There might be 2 spots. A second spot might have hit the Twin Towers. Thank you, Ko-Fi. If young Miss were here, she'd probably say things like, "What if our Plorbos were friends?" She always likes asking that. It's a beautiful sentiment, don't you think? Okay, maybe there's like a third place that we need to take you all to. This might become a 2-parter, frankly, especially if young Miss has the day off tomorrow. And if people are interested. It doesn't want things to grow old, as it were. Let's love-centric. Going everywhere is pretty worthwhile to do in this game. Even if it's not preserved, it's worth doing now. If this one inspires you to do some exploring of your own, anybody watching, please just be sure to post what you explore and what you find in the Discord. This one would love to see. This one may also be getting removed because it's pretty sure that's tied to the whole Void Cenotaph thing. Yeah, drag Uni in here. There has to be a way. Drag Lily, drag like all of your friends, drag Jackie, get the whole family together. It's fun. It's fun going through with people that you love, honestly. Okay, this is great. This person, this entity, they do. In like every game like this it's played, they have always submitted some kind of like yarn craft version of the protagonist, and it's adorable, and it hopes that they are always in the Yume Nikki community. It's always great to see. And you know, that's another thing it really likes about, you know, the journal cover feature or the wallpapers in Yume Tuki, is they're so multimedia. We've seen pixel art, we've seen traditional art, we've seen yarn craft, we've seen like ASCII renderings. So many different art styles, so many different mediums. It's just whatever you can fit on a journal cover, and that's really cool. The engine this game is running on is probably older than some of you in chat. This is RPG Maker 2003. These are some of its favorites too. Let's check the list because it recognizes that name. The list doesn't say that any of these covers are getting removed, but God, it really hopes they're not getting removed. It really hopes so. This sucks. This whole situation sucks. It's a little bit hard to keep its chin up about this thing. What if you made journal covers? That would be cool, either in real life or in a collective unconsciousness. It would be really cool to see somebody whose name I recognize attributed to one of these. Honestly, with your artistic prowess, you could probably make a journal cover that would be pretty like on par with what we've seen right now. You could, Uni could, Sable definitely could. But at the same time, it's a little bit difficult to want to contribute, you know? The future is uncertain, and the running theme of this has been, God, it hates uncertainty. It hates uncertainty so much. The unceasing passage of time should shut the fuck up, actually. 10 out of 5. Hell yeah. It knew that the moth effect would go over huge. There's just so many. It's so good. Alright. So it has to ask, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark. Everybody in chat right now, which is pretty much just you and Uni and Maxine. Accompany this one for like one more trip into the spirit world, and then we'll do maybe a follow-up stream either tomorrow or the day after. This is another moth banger. You do eat rocks. That's where the dust comes from. That's where the dust comes from. God, there's so many. There's so many, and frankly, it wants them all to be documented somehow. It understands why, but it hasn't really found anywhere that, like, these journal covers are just stored. It's the same with, like, the desktop backgrounds in Yume 2P, which it can understand why, but it also is kind of frustrating not having the full res versions of these works accessible. So honestly, I'd get some of these as a print, Just for what they represent, what they reminded of, the raw artistry on display. Like, yeah, put this on a 6x12. When's display gonna have some heat like this? I'd buy the hell out of it. Sorry if this segment is kind of losing anyone. Oh, well, there's the end. Alright. So, we're gonna end off with some peak. Gonna end off with some stuff that isn't getting cut that you will for sure be able to visit in future versions of Collective Unconsciousness. It's also going to try to do this route from memory because it has gone out here so many times, and it's going to have more places like this to show you in the follow-up stream. Okay, it's already kind of... it's already kind of faltering on if it remembers how to do this. Nope, it's locked in. It remembers. It remembers perfectly. First we cut through Pet Sky World. At least it thinks that's how it's pronounced. Oh, the stream really has been a mess, though. Thanks for bearing with it. Big fan of whatever this is. No. He's just chilling. Target audience is enjoying it. Big fan of whenever in games when like you just talk to indistinct shapes that have distorted sounds for speech. Just can't express enough how much it loves that idea specifically. It's pedestrian hand. This is where this is where it starts to really fall in love with this route, right? The color and auditory texture of the sand is just perfect, you know? It's indescribably perfect as, like, the sand here is wet, and you can hear the ocean, but you never see the ocean, which is just a feeling it doesn't... A feeling it remembers, but can't access anymore, if that makes any sense. In fact, we'll linger here for a little bit. It's just... Oh, this route is cool. This route is really cool. Yes, it's like the sand in California. It's like the sand in California. You don't sound human, just BT dubs. And this is such, like, a perfect... Oh, it's such a perfect, like, combination of things that just immediately unlock sensations in your head. And just, like, the junk strewn around, the car just kind of left and abandoned, the guy chilling with a beer, watching TV, it just kind of reminds you of just the junk you'd see strewn around on a beach. At least the beaches this one went to, you know? Indeterminate and shady figures going about their business. The haunts. Again, very specific memory that it has of, like... there used to be, like, a ranch around where it lived that would do, like, horseback rides along the beach. They kept Arabian horses for this specific reason, because, well, those lighter horses were most suited to traversing sand. And there was this place outside of Fort Bragg. It was, like, on the road between Fort Bragg and Laytonville, because, like, to get to the coast from Laytonville, yeah, you could go through Willits, you could hook up through Ukiah and, you know, take, like, a normal highway. Or you could go all the way up Branscombe Road to just, like, the most twisted bullshit you've ever seen. It apologizes for its language. However, this road sucked. This one doesn't even need to drive to know how much this road sucked. It's subjected Miss Rachel to it. At least once. Oh, God. It's a good... It would pick it up if it could. Oh, my God. And just... It's got switchbacks. It's, like... At all times, at least one side of the road just gives way into a sheer drop into God knows where. So, like, one misplaced turn of the wheel, and you're gone. You're just gone. So you cut through that, and then there's, like, a little, like, spot in between that highway and the town of Fort Bragg where it's just sand dunes for, like, easily over a mile before you hit before you hit the ocean. And I just remember thinking that was cool as fuck. You'd go there as a kid, and you'd, like, roll around in the sand dunes, because of course you would, because they're these big old sand dunes that you could just, like, slide down, God forbid. God help your parents if you brought some cardboard, and you could just shoot down there. Like, it remembers going there as a kid, and it would be getting sand out of its hair for... God, months afterwards. It was awesome. Shout out that, like, one specific nameless beach. The dunes! You probably remember the exact dunes that it's talking about, and that's why it's so cool to share these things with you, because we just lived in roughly the same area before meeting each other on the internet. It's, like, it sucks that we never, like, crossed paths, but at the same time, it's so cool to be able to talk to, like, very specific Mendocino County stuff, and, like, you'll get me. There's, like, a genuine chance that you'll get me. And I like that. It likes that a lot. Also, you gotta remember, this game engine is usually usually used and intended for making, like, low-effort Dragon Quest clones. Maybe not low effort, but, like, you know, this is widely, you know, baby's first game development kit. And they're putting isometric environments in here. Do you know how crazy that is? Like, to say nothing of, like, the artistic expression and achievement, of which there is a lot. Look on screen right now, for instance. Getting an isometric environment to work in RPG Maker is just so cool to this one, as someone who's, you know, worked a lot with RPG Maker in the past, even if nothing's come of it. It's so cool what they can do! Yes, it remembers the weird plants. It never remembers what they were called, but it was very impressive that they grew there. This is so neat. Hole. Including the hole. Oh, yeah. Alright. If you're watching the stream, it needs you to look directly at the screen. Because we're about to get what can only be described as RPG Maker Kino. It has no idea how they did this. This is probably a lot less technically involved than it thinks that they did. But this is so cool. This is so cool. This is so cool. Quit comparing everything to Omori. It's going to fucking kill you after it does a sweet spin. Again, RPG Maker 2003, its jaw dropped. Maybe it's just out of the loop on, like, what's possible with the engine. God, that's cool. God, that's cool. Yeah. For every criticism this one has leveled today about how things are being handled, how this game has been handled, there is an insane amount of... There's just an insane amount. There's an insane amount of talent. It's plain for anyone to see, really. We are going to be coming up to the end of the stream, and it's going to be able to show you someplace that it wants to, and this is probably its favorite part of the game. overall, and it's going to try to be quiet and kind of just let it speak for itself. So it won't be really. It'll be responding to chat through text, and this is probably where we're going to end off. So thank you everybody who's been hearing me out today. Thank you for everybody who's been accompanying this one, and who cares about the game as much as this one does. Thank you, Ko-Fi Bot. It's been an honor to share it with as many people as possible. Even if it's just you and everybody who's popped by today, anybody who watches this VOD in the future, because regrettably this might be the only record of this game someday, you know? Thank you, everyone. thank you to everybody who came out. Um, this is this is probably one of the most personally meaningful streams it's done. It got a little emotional for this one, I can't lie. But thank you for accompanying it, and thank you for looking at what it deems important and wanted to share with as many entities as possible. It would really like to thank everybody who showed up and bore with it. It'll likely do. It'll likely do a follow up. It'll likely do a follow up in the end. Not in the end. It'll likely do a follow up either tomorrow or the next day. Just going through a few more of its favorite spots. Today was mostly focused on showing as many cut places as possible, but we didn't get to all of them as well. And it wants to document as much as possible. It'll try to retain hope, for this game going into the future and for, the Humaloidvania genre as a whole, because it's just too important to this one, and it's survived for a really long time, frankly, Yume Tuki is coming up on its 20th anniversary of continuous development from contributors all over the world, incredibly talented people. Collective Unconsciousness is just getting started. Uneven Dream is just getting started. There's a whole library of amazing Humaloidvanias by either small teams or single people that are well worth playing. And even getting further beyond that, just the idea of, the non-conventional RPG Maker game as a whole. It's an incredibly... Even if this stream has been kind of a downer, it definitely wants the takeaway to be that this is an incredibly vibrant scene with incredible contributors, and there's nothing at all like a Humaloidvania. It's probably maddening to anybody outside of its incredibly small community that it refers to them as such, but that's just what it's ended up calling them. It's hilarious. It's a better name than Yume Nikki fan games, let's be real. And if you call them YNFGs, it's like... What is that, some kind of crypto thing, But, it digresses. It's gonna drag you back through the forest one more time. For its own enrichment. Because it really likes this area. Get into Yume likes. They're awesome. There's so many. Don't let this scare you off of Yume Nikki Online either. It's one of the easiest ways to just pick these games up and play them. You don't have to install Easy RPG 2003. You don't have to fiddle with runtimes. It does recommend, if you find a game you like, download it locally and keep it. But, if you just want to open your browser and play Yume Nikki, there's no better way to do it. And it encourages you to do so, because these games are amazing. These games are practically one of a kind. What you're called? No, Mrs. Princess. You could be maids. And I could be the head maid, but... Miss Annabelle would kill it for that. It shouldn't impersonate professionals, after all. We'll work things out with Lexi once she's around. Because of this one's impulsiveness, she wasn't able to join us today, but when we do a run back, yeah. When we do a run back, almost certainly, it'll drag Lexi along. And there are more Yume likes to explore both on YNO and otherwise. There's so many of these, just ugh, and they've all got at least something like this, you know, something that I can only describe as beautiful. It doesn't really know who made this map, but whoever did, thank you. Today was worth it. It got to document some things that were important to it, and to reflect on things that might never come back, but at the end of the day, you've got to grab on, and you've got to scratch, and you've got to grip the things that mean anything to you as much as you can, be that people, be that experiences, be that games, be that art, be that ideas and ambitions. You have to grab onto it even if you know it's too late. That's something that this one thinks is always going to be worth doing. Well, thank you everybody for your time. This has been Koishi Kuzunoha, and you've been watching Kudzu LKN. It means a lot to this one, everybody who's come in and visited and taken a look. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody involved with Collective Unconsciousness. See you next time. Goodbye.